Hey everyone, and welcome back. If you're a Flutter developer these days, it feels like you're trying to navigate this massive maze of architectural choices. And as the whole community gets more mature, there's one question that seems to pop up over and over again, causing more confusion than just about anything else. And it's a big one we're going to tackle right now.
I bet you've asked this yourself, or maybe you've seen it argued about endlessly online. It really feels like this fundamental decision you have to make, like a fork in the road right when you start your project. But what if I told you that entire question is built on a totally false premise?
That's right. This is the secret right here. These two things, clean architecture and state management, they are not competitors, they're not mutually exclusive. Actually, the complete opposite is true. For any professional, scalable Flutter app, you absolutely need them working together. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how they partner up to create apps that are really, truly built to last.
Okay, so first things first, let's zoom all the way out to the big picture. Before we get into any specific library or pattern, we really need to get a handle on the fundamental problem that every single one of us faces. How do we build an app that doesn't just completely fall apart 6 months down the line?
Well, having a solid architectural foundation basically gives you three superpowers. First up, testability. You can test your core business logic without ever having to fire up the UI, which means your tests run in milliseconds, not full seconds. It's lightning fast. Second, team scalability. Your UI team and your logic team can work at the exact same time without constantly stepping on each other's toes. And finally, you get future-proofing, so when the client inevitably wants a total redesign or the backend team decides to change an API, you don't have to panic and rewrite the whole thing from scratch. So if that's the why, then what's the how? Well, we need a plan, right? A high-level blueprint for the entire application. And for so many professional teams out there, that blueprint is clean architecture.
Now, clean architecture isn't some library you install. It's more like a philosophy. It's all about structuring your app into these distinct layers of responsibility. And its main goal is so important, to protect your core business logic, the special rules that actually make your app unique from all the messy, constantly changing details of the outside world, like whatever UI framework you're using or the specific database you're connected to.
Let's break down how this actually works. You've got three main layers. On the outside, there's the presentation layer. That's all your Flutter widgets and UI stuff. And there's the data layer, which talks to things like APIs and databases. But right there in the middle, you have the heart of your app, the domain layer. This thing is written in pure Dart with 0 Flutter imports. And here is the golden rule, the most important part. Dependencies only flow inwards. The UI depends on the domain. The data layer depends on the domain. But the domain, it depends on absolutely nothing. It's completely isolated, completely protected.
To make this whole idea a bit more concrete, let's use an analogy we can all get. If building your app is like building a house, then clean architecture is the master blueprint. It's what defines the foundation, the layout of the rooms, and how everything connects together to make sure the whole structure is solid.
Okay, so if clean architecture is our big blueprint for the house, where on earth does state management fit into this picture? Well, let's zoom in a bit. We're going from the overall structure of the house to a very specific and very important part of it. You see, state management has a very particular job to do. It's the process of taking all your app's data, what we call the state, and making absolutely sure that your UI reacts automatically whenever that data changes. It's all about keeping what the user sees on screen perfectly in sync with the data living underneath.
And right here, this is where it all clicks into place. Clean architecture is the blueprint for the entire building. State management, on the other hand, lives entirely inside that presentation layer. Think of it as a specialized toolbox, like the specific set of tools an electrician uses to wire up all the lights and outlets in the house. You absolutely need both the blueprint and the tools, and they work together perfectly, each with its own distinct role.
All right, so now that we get the why, the how, and the where, let's get down to the most practical question of all. Which tool should you actually pick up and use? Let's take a look at today's top contenders. For most new professional projects today, the conversation really starts and often ends with Riverpod 3.0. It has seriously become the modern default choice. It offers this powerful combo of compile time safety, which helps you catch bugs before they ever happen, and some total game-changing features like native offline persistence that's just built right in.
Next up, we've got BLoC. This is the battle-tested enterprise standard. Its super strict, event-driven architecture is just perfect for huge teams and for regulated industries, think banking or healthcare, where every single state change needs to be traceable for audits. In that world, predictability isn't a bug, it's a feature.
And then there's Signals, the rising star pushing the performance frontier. Instead of rebuilding entire widgets when data changes, Signals lets you do these tiny surgical UI updates. This is what you reach for when performance is absolutely non-negotiably critical. We're talking real-time trading dashboards or complex data visualizations where you just can't afford any UI jank.
This table really breaks it all down at a glance. You can see the totally different philosophies at play. Riverpod's reactive caching, BLoC's super strict event-driven model, and Signals' fine-grained reactivity. And look at the trade-offs. BLoC has a lot of boilerplate code, but in exchange you get that amazing traceability. Signals has almost no boilerplate and the absolute best surgical performance. Riverpod kind of sits in that perfect sweet spot with low boilerplate, fantastic safety, and that native offline support, which, honestly, is a big reason why it's the dominant trend right now.
Of course, we have to give a nod to provider. It's the foundation that Riverpod was built on. Now for new, complex projects, it's pretty much considered a legacy tool. But hey, it's still perfectly fine for learning the core concepts or for maintaining older apps that already use it. No shame in that.
And finally, a quick but important word of caution about GetX. Look, it was really popular for a while, but the consensus in the community today is that it just presents an unacceptable risk for professional projects. Things like long periods of maintenance inactivity, relying on just a single person to maintain it, and some architectural patterns that can really lead to a lot of technical debt. These are serious concerns you just have to be aware of.
Okay, I know, that was a lot of information. So let's boil it all down into some clear, actionable recommendations. Which toolbox should you actually pick for your specific house blueprint?
If you're working at a startup or building a modern product where you need to move fast but you can't sacrifice quality, your default choice should be Riverpod. Its balance of development speed, compile time safety, and modern features like that native offline support is just unmatched right now.
Now, if you're in a regulated industry or you're on a massive team, you should probably choose BLoC. Yeah, there's more boilerplate, but that's the price you pay for absolute predictability and an event log that becomes an invaluable audit trail when you need it.
For those applications where every single frame counts, I'm talking real-time dashboards, trading apps, or maybe apps that have to run on low-end devices, Signals is your go-to. Its ability to perform those tiny surgical UI updates will keep your app feeling buttery smooth.
And hey, if you're just starting out on your Flutter journey or you're building a pretty simple app, Provider is a fantastic choice. It has a really low barrier to entry, and the core concepts you learn with it will transfer directly if and when you decide to upgrade to Riverpod down the line.
So we end up right back where we started, but hopefully with a totally new perspective. The game isn't about choosing between state management and architecture. It's about using them together to build better, more resilient apps. The key is to think strategically. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about for your own projects. Is your app's architecture built for the future, or is it just built for today?